Only going to speak on the hashtags one more time. I promise. All lives matter, Black Lives Matter. We shouldn't be arguing about that. We should be working on a solution. But I want you to understand why all lives matter is offensive to some people. It's not that all lives don't matter. All lives matter is common sense. We don't need movements for things that are common sense. We need awareness movements to raise attention to issues that we're having. For example, would you show up at a breast cancer awareness movement with an all cancer matters sign? No, you're not going to do that. You know why? Because everyone's going to look at you and say, get the out of here. That's messed up. This is a breast cancer awareness movement. You want to raise attention to something else? Start your own, not something that's a direct, Black Lives Matter. You shouldn't have it. It's racist. The reason we have it is because you all are not speaking out when injustices happen against Black people. And while we're at that note, I'm going to take it a step further. If Black Lives Matter bothers you, how about Muslim Lives Matter? Because they do. They do matter. But guess what? I see you all posting stuff about Muslims all the time. So you're going to tell me, you're going to turn around and say all lives matter. Or what about Mexican lives? What about, those are the people that are subjected to issues here in America, pretty much every race except white. So when it's mostly white people saying all lives matter, but you never step up and speak out until it's someone of your life. Because if Muslims don't matter and you're supporting Donald Trump, how can you say that all lives matter? It's not true, because until all of our lives matter, everybody who lives here, then all our lives don't matter. And that's all they're saying. It's not a threat to you. And if you take it as a threat, you need to question yourself of why do you feel threatened by saying everybody else needs to matter just as much as you do in order for the statement all lives matter to be true. It's simply not true, because you're not speaking out. You're not saying this is wrong. We are a melting pot in this country, but nobody feels like they're treated equally unless they don't have color in their skin, because it's not what's on the videos. Ask people of color how they feel. And I'm not just talking about Black people. I'm talking about every other ethnicity out there. Tell me, ask them how they feel that they're treated. And you know what the proof is? The only Americans who are simply just Americans are white Americans, because everybody else has their name hyphenated. African Americans, Asian Americans, Latino Americans. Why do we have to hyphenate that? Because you know what? Here in America, whether you believe it or not, we do not treat all people equally. We don't. We have biases, and we're allowed to have biases against practically every other race, but we don't admit them. And that's why people are offended when you're standing up and saying all lives matter, but when a Muslim life is threatened, or a Mexican life is threatened, or a Black life is threatened, you can't say that Black life matters, that Muslim life matters, that Mexican life matters, that Asian life. They all matter, and they are all equal to us. So you need to get your privilege and not be offended when someone tells you you need to treat them equally too, because that's what it is. That's all it is. Think about it. Think about it. Really think about it. Me saying Black Lives Matter does not mean that your life doesn't matter too. But guess what? I don't live in fear. I don't cause people to fear me because of how I look. I don't need you out there to bring awareness and support to my life, because I have it pretty easy. And even people who don't, we are not targeted simply because of the color of our skin. You know why? Because we're the majority. So it's about time to recognize how white Americans treat all other races. Take responsibility for your biases and address them, and realize that these movements are okay and it's not offensive or a threat to you. And that's why it rubs me the wrong way. But at the end of the day, all of our lives matter. They do. They do.